Hey Braid fam, thank you so much for tuning in to another tutorial. Today's video is really exciting because today I'm talking about 5 things that you can do to braid thick 4C hair, especially when we're talking about box braids. And so the reason why you should incorporate all of these tips as a braider is because 1, it'll save you a lot of time, it'll save your clients a lot of money and literal headaches. Because to be honest, we've all been there where our braids weigh about 15 pounds on their own. So without further ado, let's get into these 5 tips. Tip number 1 is to have large parts. This is important because you have a lot of hair to cover. And I don't care if you're doing small box braids, medium, large, jumbo, you want your parts to be slightly bigger than if you were to do someone with a lot less hair or thinner hair. To be honest, when I first started braiding hair, I was hesitant to even do large parts, even on people with thick hair, but all of that changed when I realized I was spending 2 to 3 extra hours doing their hair, and then the volume was a little too much, the fullness was too much, and then I realized I can do this technique and still get a full, voluminous look while cutting down my time. Tip number 2 is to follow some sort of pattern to make sure your braids are distributed evenly. For me, it helps to follow a pattern because it helps me to know where I'm at on the head and how much more I have left to do. And one way to do this is to pre-part the entire head. I personally don't do this because I've been doing hair for a while now, and it would take me a lot more time to pre-part. However, this technique works great for a lot of people, so it's worth trying. Another thing you can do is to section the hair in half, either down the middle or horizontally from ear to ear. You can also do these in 4 sections. And I don't know if it's just me, but being able to see the entire head helps me a lot with motivating me, and especially if I realize that I have a lot more to do and maybe half the time has already passed, but I'm not even halfway yet. So being able to see the entire head and having some type of pattern helps me to be consistent on my timing, and then also consistent in how much braids I have throughout the entire head. So tip number 3, this is something that I've been doing for a really, really long time, and it is to add hair as you go. So way before knotless braids became the main type of box braids, I have been doing this with traditional box braids, and especially with thick 4C hair. So I would start off with a little bit of extension and then add the hair as I went down. And honestly, if you have someone with thick hair, why not leverage the hair that they already have? And that way you're saving on extension, you're saving money, you're not using 5-6 packs, you're cutting that down in half because you're leveraging what you already have. And so when I added hair, I would braid down, and then as it would thin out, I would add more hair. And so towards the end where their hair would thin out, or their hair would be a lot shorter than the length that I would want, I'd add hair there. Oh my gosh, that was a tongue twister. But anyways, you all understand what I'm trying to say. So honestly, this is by far the best tip. If you're not watching the rest of this video, tip number 3 is honestly the gold standard for doing box braids on thick hair, because you want all of your lengths to be the same thickness. You want all of your hair to be the same thickness. And this is one way to achieve that. But then you're also not adding extra weight to the person, to your client's head. And so honestly, man, I can't talk about this enough. So I'm gonna just stop rambling and let's get on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to add product and comb out the product. So my favorite thing to add is some type of jam. My 2 favorites are Let's Jam, the Extra Hold, and then Shine and Jam by Magic Finger Studios. So when I add this product, I usually add it when I'm parting the hair, and then I also add it towards the ends where I'm trying to tame the flyaways. And then most of the times when you do add gem, it'll clump up. And so with thick hair, you want to use that comb again to comb it out to make sure everything's smooth, that you don't have any lumps. And then that way you'll be able to tame all of that natural hair into the braid. And our last and final tip for this video is to braid down the hair tight enough, but you don't want it to be stiff. So the tighter you squeeze each leg as you braid down, the smaller your braid will appear. And the looser you braid down, the thicker the braid will appear. And so if you hold it too tight, your braid will become too stiff. But then if you don't hold it tight enough, it looks thicker and loose, and you can see a lot more of the flyaways and the imperfections. So this specific skill comes with time and practice, and over time you'll get the hang of it and all of your braids will be nice and uniform. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. You're amazing, and thank you for helping us to get to over 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but please help us to get to 2. You know, we're at 1. Why not make it 2? All right, I'm gonna see you in the next video.